Have you ever wondered what happens after you die? This is Andrew. Please listen to this story and be careful. The laboratory has been on lockdown for the past 3 hours. I am here alone, just me. The last vial shattered on the floor and the body of Dr. Blaus lies there. Yes, I know what you are thinking. How can he be a corpse if he is still standing on his feet, pointing at me with wide-open eyes? It is because his pulse is gone. He is just trying to mimic a mannequin, but he is definitely dead. Believe me, they have killed me many times before, then brought me back over and over. I have grown numb to the process of death, its signs, but it has never looked like this, never. The alarm sirens are still blaring outside the steel door. I can see the red lights flashing through the small cross-shaped glass window. Watching lab-coated figures run past alongside test subjects are human guinea pigs scattering in chaos. Screams fill my ears, mixed with growls and pleas. I do not know what is happening out there, but it is violent, very bloody. People are dying. I prefer being in here, but if the smell seeping through the vent is any indication, I do not have much choice in the matter. It smells acrid, like fire, and a faint smoke blankets the room. It gives me an ultimatum with 2 options: stay here and wait, or run out and risk stepping into the madness. I try the door, it is locked. Next, I glance at the window, but the bars tell me it is not worth the effort. The small room offers few choices: a steel chair, a metal cabinet, Dr. Blaze's body, and a vent 6 times smaller than an adult. Maybe if I were 4 years old, I could crawl through. Maybe. The lights flicker from white to red, then go out completely. The small room plunges into pitch black. I realize the chaos outside, the screams, the growls, the sounds of a brawl have stopped. They are replaced by something else, something slow, methodical, like footsteps, but much heavier, as if a bulldozer sprouted legs and decided to stroll down the experimental research wing. Another sound accompanies it, faint and raw, the sound of something dragging across the dirty vinyl floor. A voice speaks. "Come here and see it," it mumbles, skipping like a broken record player. "Ask and you will see." The voice is distorted like fruit crushed in a blender, each word delivered in a flat, monotonous tone. I step back instinctively, realizing the footsteps in the dark are getting closer, heading toward my small cell at the end of the hallway. My back hits the cabinet. Fumbling in the dark, I open it and squeeze inside. It is cramped, but I manage to close the door with a thud. A thunderous crash echoes through the room. No, it is pounding the door. Relentless blows make the 3-inch thick steel barrier groan as it buckles under the force. "You cut me, tore me apart, and now you will suffer my pain," it says. The door lets out a final screech of dying metal and crashes to the floor with a deafening sound loud enough to wake half the county and part of the next. It has entered the room, and I hold my breath, close my eyes, and think about praying before remembering that people like me with my track record do not get that luxury. You called us, did you not? Summoned us to come here. Now you hide from everything you see. Now you hate this tragedy. I do not open the cabinet door, not even a millimeter, to peek and satisfy my curiosity, because the truth is I do not need to. I can hear everything clearly. I hear Dr. Blaus's stomach being ripped open, his intestines slapping the floor, and the desperate gulping as that thing makes what is inside him its own. The most important thing now is to stay silent to avoid the bloody death and horror. But I am still human, and that means I need to breathe. Right now, smoke is filling the room, pouring through the vent, settling in my lungs, burning, clawing. I cough, choking on the smoke, and before I can stop, I cough again. Oh God. As I said, I am only human. A dull thud and the sound of liquid splashing follow. That is what I imagine as the echo of Dr. Blaze's body falling into his own pool of blood. Then heavy footsteps signal that my death is coming. They are slow, staggering, stirring a resolve in me. In that moment, 6 million years of human evolution decided it is time to flip a coin fight or flee. I fling open the cabinet door. My eyes meet a room devoid of light, filled with deep darkness. It does not matter anymore. My memory acts like a GPS, guiding my bare feet across the cold wooden floor through warm blood and past the monster I cannot see. My shoulder slams into the doorframe, telling me I have left the room out of its reach. I keep moving, running down the pitch black hallway I have walked every day for 16 years, the same hallway that has painted my dreams, my constant nightmares. I stumble over bodies littering the floor, feeling like chaff, wondering what happened here, whether the experiments went too far, and if anyone deserved this. Behind me, the monster continues its pursuit, still dragging something. I do not waste time looking back, because I know not all deaths are equal. Some are bad, but this could be the worst of all. It takes 6 heartbeats to reach the end of the hallway. When I arrive, a bitter surprise greets me. The attacker has done the work for me. The emergency exit is torn to pieces, as are the guards who stood before it. Their bodies are scattered everywhere, a bit here, a bit there. I try to ignore the crushed skulls cutting into my bare feet, try not to think about whose intestines I might slit upon as I stagger through this frame. I try not to think, and soon I do not need to try because I am free. 16 years like a bird in a cage, a fish in a tank, and now I am free. I limp onto the grass in the courtyard, gasping and wheezing like a man who has spent his life chained to a chair or led like a dog. My chest heaves, my legs tremble. I look back at the research laboratory, and it glows like a crematorium ablaze with a chemical cocktail strong enough to ignite hellfire chemicals I have tasted running through my veins. I even helped design some of them. Want to know what kind of person you could become? Want to know where you could go? The footsteps grow closer, echoing from within the facility, along with the sound of something being lifted swung. Bodies fly out of the darkness of the entrance, hitting me, rolling across the grass in a rain of blood and organs, each more horrific than the last. Among them are faces I recognize, the soldiers who forced me to die day after day, the researchers, the doctors, my former colleagues, who pushed past the veil searching for the Holy Grail. I cannot see it, but I can hear it. I know the creature is standing in the wreckage of the doorway framed in the hallway's darkness. I know it is watching me, waiting. My instincts beg me to keep running, to leap through the gate and disappear down the mountain, hoping it will all end if I run fast enough. But I know better. The smoke in the sky moves rhythmically, and the moonlight finds the pile of shattered heads by the doorway. It reveals a figure standing in the shadows, a specter with the footsteps of a giant and the voice of a broken record. But the giant is thinner than possible. It stoops in the hallway, its golden eyes blazing, bearing cracked teeth. Questions immediate for us. Answers, never free. Now I see. I have seen, and my stomach sinks. My lips tremble and my mind races, searching for escape. Memories flood back from jagged, dusty corners of my thoughts, places I tried to strangle, but it is not enough. They multiply inside me, tormenting me with decades of regret and pain. I have no choice. I repeat those words, and each time they become more meaningless. The truth is, the only thing I ever had was a choice, the choice to become a monster or remain human. I chose to throw it all away, to step closer to godhood, one step closer to seeing her again, Vanessa, who paid the price to make this happen. But now you know you do not know what to do. I try to explain to the creature that the military approached me, that they knew my background in neurology and chemical research, that they knew I tried to bridge the gap between life and death. I try to tell it I only wanted one last chance to say goodbye to my wife, but the creature does not care. It laughs. It stands under the night sky with cold open eyes, and it laughs as it lifts a sack from the darkness at the threshold, tossing it onto the grass in the courtyard. The sack writhes as if something inside is struggling to break free. Excuses pour from my trembling lips before I can form a thought. More explanations, more reasons to justify the unjustifiable. I only wanted to help people, I stammer. I truly only wanted to save people. But the military wanted to use the project as a weapon. They forced me to push patients too far. They made me experiment on innocent people, but that was never my intention. The final words choked me, memories burning from the depths of my heart, relics buried and stuffed under 16 years of trauma and pain. I remember strapping patients to chairs myself with the help of a younger, still living Dr. Blas. I remember shoving wood in their mouths so they would not bite their tongues as we pinned electrodes to their skin and pumped their veins with my proprietary compound. We told them they would die. Yes, they replied, we know. We told them they would see a light, something guiding them to the other side. This could last from minutes to hours, and then death would take them completely. The question was always the same. What happens after that light? And the answer never changed. From hundreds of unique subjects, we observed them entering a room, a familiar place, often their childhood bedroom, or a place of similar nostalgia and joy. There they would feel boundless euphoria. Patients describe the sensation as overwhelming spiritual openness, a profound peace close to nirvana. This feeling was strongest in the room, but spread to the surrounding structure, typically a house. We called this place their sanctuary. Within the sanctuary, dreams came true. Dead pets would live again, wagging tails with bright eyes. Subjects would reunite with lost relationships, visit distant friends, and even reconnect with long-departed loved ones. That sanctuary was everything we were searching for, the place I wanted to reach. At that point, I considered the project a success, stating we had learned all we needed. Death was nothing to fear. My final request before ending the project was to undergo the process myself, to meet Vanessa one last time and say goodbye. But the military refused. They would not let me stop the project or enter death as I longed to. Why? They feared that without my expertise to guide the experiment, the team might not know how to bring me back. They might lose me, and I would never return from my sanctuary. They told me we needed to go a little deeper, and they needed me for that. I asked, how much deeper? What happens if subjects go beyond their sanctuary? I did not know, had no idea what would happen, but I was not sure anyone would agree to go past it. They all described overwhelming joy in their sanctuary. I wanted to experience it too, to hold Vanessa in my arms again, to tell her I missed her so much, to apologize for not having the chance to say goodbye. So I agreed. I agreed because the process was too complex for me to do alone without the team's support. I agreed because it was the only way I could hope to find closure in my life. After all, I still had so much to do before leaving forever. However, things started to get difficult. No surprise, the subjects did not want to leave their sanctuaries even after multiple revivals and intensive training. The drive to stay in that sacred house was too strong to overcome. It was as if some mysterious force from the other side was influencing their will, refusing to let them leave. But the project had to continue. I returned to the protocol proposing solutions, but each was a dead end until Blaze cracked it. His theory sounded simple. Just as we use chemicals to induce clinical death in a controlled way, he would inject another compound into them, one that boosted their will to move past the sanctuary's pull. It would turn the sanctuary from a sacred hall into an ordinary structure, nothing special, unable to trap people in its orbit. Just a house, nothing more. The effect was theorized to be temporary, like the chemicals we use to revive and kill patients. They would cycle out of their system over time. Harmless was the word he used, and it was at least partly true. Removing the sanctuary proved successful in encouraging subjects to venture into the void of the other side, a place we called the Beyond. They described the Beyond as a place not much different from our world. It had familiar features of modern life: houses, cars, people, birds. But something was clearly wrong with the entire experience. Subjects reported feeling disturbed in the Beyond, uncomfortable and uneasy. One subject described it as fear spreading with every step. I felt darkness cloaking my soul, like it was swallowing me, consuming all light in my spirit and leaving only the utter misery. The exact cause was impossible to pinpoint. Instead, it seemed to stem from many things at once. One was the buildings full of shattered windows, glass strewn on the ground below. Yet the residents seemed unbothered. They wandered naked, wide smiles on their faces, their feet moving mindlessly over the glass, leaving trails of crimson blood. Perhaps the most terrifying part was that these smiling figures never spoke a word. No subject we observed saw these specters appear to have the ability or desire to engage in conversation. Instead, they communicated solely through one action, one tone: screaming. The Beyond seemed to hold the ultimate horror we all fear when discussing death. That alone was enough for me to issue an ultimatum to the military: end this madness or lose their project leader. I was ready to walk away. What began as a means to help people find peace had become a method against humanity. They told me to try one more week of experiments, and then I could reach my long-held desire. By then, we would have all the data needed and could shut the project down forever. At the time, I believed the subjects were not suffering anything beyond a bad trip. Of course, their experiences left psychological scars, but fundamentally, I thought it was treatable with proper therapy, that the consequences were not permanent. God forgive me for losing myself in my memories. Oh, I wonder what you saw. The giant's voice pulls me back to reality. Its gnarled fingers work on the sack, untying its cords, humming a tune to itself. For some reason, the song feels strangely familiar. Suddenly, I realize it is the song Vanessa and I wrote together, the melody we played at our wedding, the one I whispered as I wept at her grave. I know you, I say to the giant, realization dawning in my mind. I met you in the other side. A new memory swirls in my head. I am standing before the facility's executive director, explaining that I cannot complete the final week. Why, the director asks. They will not come back, I tell him. I mean the subjects. Half of them have actually died after venturing into the Beyond. The chemical cocktail designed to revive our dead patients no longer works. Even stranger, their brains show signs of severe damage, as if part of them was burned away. Those who somehow return are far worse. They describe horrors that haunt me every time I imagine them, nightmares crawling into their memories, refusing to leave. Each one returns in tears or gasping breaths. They throw themselves off the chair, rushing to the door. No, they beg, do not make me go back there. There is something out there, it is twisted, and it wants me to suffer its pain. The descriptions are chilling, but raise a question. What is out there, and why does it want these subjects to suffer its pain? It is a question I am happy to leave unanswered. We have lost dozens, harmed the rest, so there is no need to pursue this madness further. But the academic in me keeps pondering what lies in the Beyond. And sadly, Blaze's curiosity does too. He is fascinated by the idea of discovering this creature, this demon that seems to live in the forbidden land of the other side. He is obsessed with it. I told the director we need to end the project before we let the genie out of the bottle, before we go too far and find something we cannot handle. But he likes Blaze's idea. He suggests to the military that they capture this monster for themselves to use the destruction of someone's sanctuary as a means of psychological coercion. After all, if you can convince your enemy that you are not only taking their life, but also their salvation, would they not surrender immediately? It is a strategic advantage too, tempting for the military to lose. Around that time, we discovered another horrific truth. Blaze's method, supposedly temporary to remove a subject's access to their sanctuary, was not temporary at all. Every subject who underwent his procedure was permanently cut off from their paradise. This meant we were not just traumatizing people. We were not just killing them. We were slaughtering their souls. I put my foot down, refusing to continue this insanity. I told the director he could do whatever he wanted with my papers because I was not coming back to retrieve them. I would never step foot in this horrific place again. Though I desperately wanted to see Vanessa again, I would not do it if the cost was so many lives. I would find closure another way, a healthier way. Then when I was ready to go, I would meet her in my sanctuary when life allowed. I meant to walk away, but 2 soldiers stopped me. The director said he could not let me leave because if he did, I would just scream to the press and ruin all the exciting discoveries we had made. He was not wrong. I planned to blow the whistle the moment I stepped out the door. Our current group of subjects has become harder to gather data from, the director explained. So I have made a list of drug addicts in the slums who would jump at the chance for free drugs. I am reaching out to them now to fill our stables again. Damn it, I told him, do not drag any more lives into this, or what we could research using children. Their minds are more malleable, maybe a more unique approach to handling the mental stress when we send them into the beyond. What do you think, doctor? I think I tried to punch him in the face right then. The memory is hazy because one of the soldiers hit me in the head with a rifle butt, but I remember begging him not to do it. I will do anything he wants, I said. Use me instead. I know what we are looking for. I have enough knowledge of the beyond to navigate it to tell you exactly what you want to know. No kids, the director agreed. So I officially became the military's guinea pig. Every morning I was led to a room I called the death chamber, and they filled me with the compound I had developed, now mixed with Blaze's sanctuary-destroying chemical. Every day I would die wandering the alleys of the beyond for what felt like weeks, and only to be revived hours later, gasping and crying. Then I would tell them what they wanted to hear. I did this for 16 years. When I started, I was still a young man, or at least younger. Now my hair is gray, my body frail, my memories a chaotic mess of ideas and characters, a puzzle with pieces that do not seem to fit. But this giant, this flesh and blood monster, somehow pieced those fragments together, making sense of the senseless. You did exactly what we asked. Now we will give you what you want. Inside the sack, something squirms. A hand emerges from the opening, followed by tangled chestnut hair, then freckled shoulders. A woman collapses onto the grass in the courtyard among the researchers and soldiers who fell in battle. She is pale, trembling. That woman is my entire world. I run across the courtyard, hardly believing my eyes as I pull Vanessa into my arms. I hold her tightly, tears streaming down my face. My lips find her forehead, planting kisses, whispering in her ear how much she means to me, how hard life has been without her. The giant leans in, and now closer, I see details I missed in the dark. The scar on its cheek, the crooked nose, the thick mane on its head. It is like looking into a mirror in a funhouse, a stretched and distorted reflection. Thank you, I whisper, my face pressed against Vanessa's. Her skin is cold enough to feel like needles on mine, but somehow I have never felt warmer. Even now, sitting among a circle of death, I feel at peace. I did everything I could. After being imprisoned, the military ordered me to type up field reports each time I ventured into the beyond. These reports were reviewed by Blaise, the rationale being that he had known me for years and could easily tell if I was lying about any claims. If my information became unreliable, the military would enact their backup plan using children as subjects. That was something I did not want, so I fully complied with their demands. That is what they believed. That is what I believed, at least initially. But somewhere along the way, things changed, and I realized I could have my cake and eat it too. I would end this project, destroy everyone involved, and I could do it all while still finding closure. I soon learned that the previous subjects were telling the truth, that they were right to fear the beyond. It was not just terrifying, it was twisted insane. Nothing in the beyond made sense. Reality was replaced by a Twilight Zone equivalent where birds did not fly. They crawled, dragging broken wings on the ground. Cars were everywhere, driving in random loops, crashing into walls, streetlights, or even through the screaming residents of the beyond, but no one was behind the wheel. The cars were specters moving by their own will. All of this was deeply unsettling, but it was nothing compared to the true nightmare of the other side, a creature I came to know as the darkness. It was a being of suffering and despair, existing in a cloud of negativity, a toxic gas stretching across the other side like an inescapable plague. I first encountered the darkness while documenting the residents, wondering why they were all naked, why they moved like drones, endlessly marching forward, never stopping to eat, drink, or rest, and why they screamed, why they always smiled. While pondering these questions, something strange happened. The beyond began to shift. The skyscrapers, lifeless and towering, started to tilt and groan, swaying on their foundations. The remaining glass in their window frames shattered, raining down like a torrent in a flood. The residents stopped marching and began fleeing from some invisible threat. Some crashed into walls, leaving bloodstains from their broken bodies, while others tried climbing through jagged window frames, their bodies shredded. I did not know what to do, so I stood there waiting, and the darkness found me. A tall, gaunt giant, almost unmistakable. It was me, a bizarre doppelganger, but fundamentally this creature was me. It seized me in its hands, my limbs screaming in agony as it crushed my bones to dust. That pain was something rarely felt on the other side, where everything seemed faded, like distant memories. But the pain this creature inflicted was real, more excruciating than anything I had experienced in life. After returning from that expedition, I begged Blaze not to send me back, crying and pleading, but both he and the director deemed my discovery too extraordinary to abandon. They could not wait to strap me in again, to pump me full of the all too familiar chemicals and send me back to hell. I think they believed the darkness was the ruler of death, a reaper who wrote the laws of the beyond, and perhaps our sanctuaries too. But even then I knew better. Still, they wanted to capture it for themselves. The idea of harnessing such a powerful entity, manipulating it, and using it against enemies must have been too tempting to ignore. Before I could recover from the shock, I was back in the beyond, back in the desolate land where hope no longer existed. Over and over for years, I spent most of that time running from the darkness and fleeing with the screaming residents whenever its thunderous footsteps approached. I hid under tables and closets, or even dove into moving cars, but it was never enough. Sooner or later, the darkness always found me, and when it caught me, it tortured me. The torture was unique each time, never letting me anticipate the pain I would endure or adapt to it. One time, it snapped every bone in my body. Another, it filled my eyes with broken glass. Each time I faced such agony, I begged for mercy, pleaded not to endure its twisted pleasures, but it never cared to answer. It simply did its work with a quiet determination, almost robotic. For a long time, I wondered if it was capable of proper communication, or if it was just serving a preordained function. That was until the day it finally answered. I asked why it devoted its existence to torturing me and nothing else. Because you spent your life torturing me, it replied. That was when I knew this entity was not exactly a demon. It was a guardian, a gatekeeper of Valhalla. It existed to maintain order, to act as a shepherd for the actors playing roles in the fantasies created by the sanctuary. It was then I discovered that each resident in the beyond was someone from our memories wandering aimlessly until called upon. They would take on the identity of anyone we desired, perhaps a respected childhood teacher, an old friend, or even a lost lover. And this giant entity was the master choreographer of those plays. It did so because it had no choice. When you suffer, it suffers too. It seeks to fulfill desires in your sanctuary, because if it does not, it must feel every pain within each of us. The darkness and the sanctuary are like batteries. Each is charged throughout your life with the sanctuary powered by your positive experiences. Moments of hope, joy, and happiness, while the darkness is fueled by the negative moments of despair and sorrow. That is why our emotions feel like passing breezes, why once they arise, they seem to vanish within minutes or hours. They are stored in each person's personal reserve, a vault existing within billions of individual spatial dimensions. I do not know where these dimensions come from or how they formed, but I know one thing: they are real. I know this because I help people travel there. Every time I injected chemicals into their veins to let them die and live again, I sent them to a completely new dimension independent of our own. But I did not stop there. No, I also helped something travel from that alien dimension to our reality, a creature born of negativity and hatred, the darkness. You suppressed your pain, and now leave me. I look up at the giant and say my own name. Yes, Andrew, the link must be broken. You have escaped my pain. As those words leave my mouth, I still do not know what happens when I die without the sanctuary and the darkness. Where will I be, the desolate land of the beyond, or has that vanished too without its caretaker? I do not know. All I know is the horror of my experiments has been resolved. The worlds of life and death are once again separate as they were meant to be. I want to tell this story not to encourage others to follow my footsteps or continue my research, but to leave a warning. Some mysteries are better left unexplored. Goodbye. I watch the giant rise to its full height, and with a single light bound, it leaps into the darkness of the forest, vanishing into the silent night. I do not know what it plans to do in this world, but I hope there will be no more torment of negativity caused by me. I hope it finds its own peace. In the meantime, I look down at the peace I have found Vanessa. She is still the same, just as she was the day she died. I trace a finger along her pale cheek and her eyelids flutter. Her limbs move and her body stirs after its slumber. It takes me back to lazy Sunday mornings in bed, reminding me of the mornings we slept in together. I dry my eyes and hold her close, wondering how my life could be so perfect. Hello again, my love, I say. Vanessa looks up at me the first time in 16 years. She smiles and she screams.
Thanks for watching this video. If you like this video, drop a comment below. And please like, share and subscribe my channel.